lovelies, welcome back. Today is the 4th day of 14 days of a Teezy Valentine. If you haven't watched days 1 through 3, I'll link them down below. Just go through those first before you watch this video so you can get what we're doing here. 14 days of a Teezy Valentine is all about being your own Valentine. I did the whole breakdown, video 1 of this year, video 1 of last year as well. Today is a very exciting DIY that has been coming together for 2 years, for a long time. I am a procrastinator. It's really, really bad, but I've been hinting at it for a while. I actually wore it in my Fenty Beauty review, so I also will link that down below if you want to see that. But yeah, so it's been a long time coming and it's finally here. Today's DIY is the Supreme bra set. Ta-da! Yes, made by yours truly, and I'm gonna share the tea with y'all because the ones who created the Supreme bra set, Mars, New York, or NYC, I don't think they create it anymore, which I'm like, why? It's like one of the best things ever. Like I am obsessed with it. I love it. I love wearing it. It's just, I don't think anybody else makes it like in the kind of cut and silhouettes that they do. So I decided to do a DIY on how to make it, and it's an easier DIY. When I first did this DIY, I actually sold it from scratch because I couldn't find any bralettes that would fit my size, and so I had to sew it from scratch. But I took a chance on the Calvin Klein bralettes. I think this is a large. This is a medium or a large, to see if it fits me, and it just like barely fits, but it fits. And so I'm happy about that because I just want to make an easy version for you. And also, everything that we sew, you can use hot glue or fabric glue or fabric tape. It's just not gonna last longer. Like if you need it for like a photo shoot or like just like one night or whatever, like it'll work, but it won't be like long lasting. I know that when I hinted, especially on Instagram, a lot of people were excited, and so it finally is here. Also, wig, did a video on how to make this wig. I will link that down below. Just check down below for everything, just everything, materials, other corresponding videos, everything. Just check it down below. Let me stop rambling and let's get on to it. Okay, so this is what you'll need. You'll need a Calvin Klein bralette or any black bralette that you want, some black panties that are high-waisted, some black Supreme boxers. You'll also need black thread, a bobbin for sewing for your sewing machine, some hemming tape or fabric tape. I just had hemming tape on hand, so I'm just going to use that, and some scissors. You'll need also some chalk, some straight pins, and an iron. Also, you'll need a sewing machine, but I didn't feel like showing that because that's like a big machine that, I don't feel like moving around that much. So we're going to take our bralette and we are going to actually cut off the elastic, and we're going to cut like right below where the seam is. And we're going to cut as close as possible, but make sure that you don't actually cut the seam, then everything's going to like unravel. So make sure you cut right below. So we're finished cutting, and the elastic is going to unravel like a lot. So, just try to pull off as much as you can. So now we are going to take our Supreme boxers. We're just going to take one right now and also cut the elastic off of the boxers, trying to be as close to the elastic as possible, making sure that you can't see any of the remaining boxer. And so now we are going to take our measuring tape, which I forgot to mention in the materials list, and we're going to measure the circumference of the bralette, and so we know what size we need to cut the elastic band. So now we're going to cut at the seam of the elastic band. You see that little thick line there. We're going to cut right there, and we're going to lay the elastic out and take the measurement that we just took, and we're going to subtract a ½ inch from that measurement because it includes the stretch of the fabric or of the elastic. From that measurement, we're going to measure it out on the elastic band and cut right there. And now we're going to take the elastic and fold it in half and take our chalk and mark the middle of that elastic. And now we're going to take our bralette and align the midpoint of the elastic to the middle of the bralette, and we're going to use a straight pin to pin that down. And now we're going to pin down the rest of the elastic to the bralette. And we're going to make sure that we pin right above the original elastic of the bralette. So whatever's left onto the bralette, we're going to pin above it and also sew above it. And you'll notice after we pin, there's like a little bit of space in between the elastic ends. And so that's because we subtracted that 1/2 inch for stretch. So we're going to make sure that those two overlap when we sew. So now we're going to sew on the sewing machine. I'm just going to use a straight stitch for this one just to make it easy and simple. Make sure you go slow and that you take out your pins as you sew. And you also want to make sure that you pull the elastic a little bit as you sew to make sure that the stretch actually is, you know, in the actual sewing of the garment. And also you want to make sure that you don't sew the ends completely down, because we want to sew those separately so we can make sure that they overlap and really are closed. And now, since we're done sewing the rest of the bralette, we just have the ends to go, and we just want to overlap those ends and then just, you know, stitch right, you know, between the both of them, making sure that you go from one end to another. And now we're going to go to the bottoms. I am taking the bottoms and I'm trying them on just to see what they look like on me and where I want the actual cut of the bottoms to be. So now I'm taking my chalk and literally just lining out where I want the lines of the bottoms to be. So I know that the original Supreme bra set is super like high cut, like really high cut, and so I'm trying to mimic that. And then the back, I'm not sure, I haven't seen photos of the actual back, but I actually ended up, I wanted to first do like a regular bikini bottom like cut for the back, but I ended up having to do like a thong bottom because the bikini bottom part wasn't working, it wasn't fitting the way I wanted it to. And so now I'm just relining the lines that I made just to make them more stark and legible. And now I am taking my measuring tape and adding a 1/2 inch, oh no, actually a 1/4 inch seam allowance to the lines that we just made. So that's pretty much the seam, or actually not really even a seam, it's technically a hem for the bottoms. And so we want to make sure that there are clean finishes for the bottoms, and that's what seams do. We're adding a 1/4 inch so that when we start constructing the bottoms, that we'll fold them back, and so it'll end up having a clean line instead of having a jagged line for your panty bottoms, because that's not cute. And so now I'm folding the bottoms in half and marking where the midpoint is, because when we actually cut out the bottoms, we want to, it will only be cut out on one side. So we want to fold the bottoms and cut along the cut line so that the other side can be symmetrical. And so now I am taking my scissors and cutting along the seam allowance line and only on one layer of the panty, so the front layer of the bottoms. And then I'm flipping over to the other side on the back and cutting out the back seam allowance. And so now that we have the front and the back cut out on one side, we're going to cut the side seam of the bottom so that we can open up the panties and fold it in half vertically or hot dog style and cut the other side symmetrically. And make sure that the midpoints that you marked earlier on the panties actually line up with where you folded the panties or bottoms. And so now I'm just lining up everything and making sure that everything is straight and there's no wrinkles in the bottoms. And now I am cutting along the already cut panties for the uncut panties. And so just to make everything symmetrical. And I hope that makes sense. I think it makes sense. You see the video. And now I'm just doing it on the bottom side. And now I'm lying down a towel because I am about to iron. So we need to protect our surfaces. And we're going to take our hemming tape and just cut pretty much a really long piece. I am now also cutting the hemming tape in half vertically because we only need like a small width for securing the seam allowance. I am actually going to cut off the elastic of the panties or of the bottoms, and then now I'm taking the hemming tape and I'm just lining it up at the quarter seam allowance line, so it's like a quarter out from the edge. And so I'm just cutting a piece off. You want to like have pieces of hemming tape instead of one whole piece, so you make sure that it is accurate. And now I'm folding the edge over the seam allowance and pinning it down, and that's how our seam is going to be made. And we're going to do that for the whole bottom. And so now I'm taking the iron, and that's how you fuse hemming tape, is through the iron or through heat. And so you just pretty much iron the spot where you put the hemming tape. And you see I kind of got a little bit of hemming tape on the panty by accident, but we're just going to ignore that. So you're just going to iron, and it should be, fused together, and we're just going to repeat that for the whole panty on each side to pretty much finish the edge of the bottoms. And I wanted to use hemming tape. You can also use fabric tape, but I wanted to use hemming tape so that it's just easier and that you don't have to sew the hems down, because sometimes that's just a lot of work, and since the bottoms are pretty small, it's a little bit harder to sew the hems down, but you can do it if you want to. Now we completed finishing the edges, and this is kind of what the bottoms look like right now. So now what I'm doing, which this is optional, but I'm cutting the kind of excess fabric from the seam allowance, just so we can have a neat finish and as neat as possible. But as you see here, I did cut a hole in my panties, so I had to redo the hems, and that's why my panties are super like high cut, and it's just a little extra. So anyway, I'm moving on to cutting out the elastic of the next Supreme underwear boxers and doing it the same way that we did for the bralette. And now we are cutting the Supreme elastic at the seam, folding it in half, and we're going to take our waist measurement and divide it by 2. So if you know it by heart, then just divide it by 2 and subtract a 1/2 inch again for stretch. And we're going to measure that out on the Supreme elastic and cut both sides of the Supreme elastic because we want to make sure that the Supreme logo is in the middle of the bottoms. And now we're going to take our bottoms and the elastic band and align the middle point of the bottoms and the middle point of the elastic and pin it. And we're going to make sure where we pin it, there's about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So we're going to pin it a 1/2 inch down from the edge of the bottoms. And after we pin that, we're going to pin the rest of the front of the bottoms to the elastic. And now we're going to sew a straight line across on the sewing machine. And this is what the front of the bottoms look like. It is attached and it's looking fabuloso. So now we are going to pin the elastic to the back of the bottoms. So we're going to take the ends of the elastic band and we're going to pin those to the midpoint of the back of the bottoms. And now we have pinned all of the back to the elastic and now we are going to sew. So this is what the bralette set looks like. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I want to wear it every day, but it really looks like the authentic original bralette, and I'm obsessed. That is it for this DIY. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. If you recreate this DIY, please let me know. Tag me on Instagram at Teezy Season. Just let a sister know so I can repost it, and I just love seeing you guys recreate my stuff. So please let me know, comment down below if you want to recreate or have recreated. Please share this video so other people can recreate it as well. Anyway, I was trying to do this video for a long time and I finally did it, and I'm happy that it's done, and so I can move on with my life. 14 days of a Teezy Valentine. This completes day 4. Please check back tomorrow for day 5. It's also another super exciting video, as all these videos are super exciting. I just really love this time of year. I really love this series, and I really go all out for this series because self-love is super important to me, and I wanted to make it fun. Like a fun way to do, a fun way that you can treat yourself and do nice things for yourself and all of that good stuff. So, like I said, please like, share, and subscribe. Help a sister out. Check the other, 3 days or 14 days of a Teezy Valentine, because those are really exciting videos as well. Please love yourself, and I will see you tomorrow. Mwah.